Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now 5:30 and I declare the annual general meeting of electors open. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Whadjuk people. We would like to pay respect to the elders of the Noongar Nation, past and present, who have walked and cared for the land, and we acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contributions made to the life of this city and this region. And I now invite you to bow your head in prayer. Lord, we ask for your blessing upon our city, our community and our council. Guide us in our decision-making to act fairly, without fear or favour, and with compassion, integrity and honesty. May we show true leadership, be inclusive of all, and guide the city of Wanneroo to a prosperous future that all may share. We ask this in your name. Amen. Attendances as per the record. Apologies and leave of absence, we have none. I would like to acknowledge and welcome Mr. Mitch Norton from Grant Thornton, being the officer from the Auditor General, appointed auditor for the City of Wanneroo, and welcome. Moving through to item 3 reports, 3.1. Can I please have a mover and seconder for the annual report? Move Councillor Treby and seconded Councillor Civic. Councillor Treby, wish to speak to the annual report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it'll just be just needs a brief introduction. The annual report that the city provides is and has been recognised over the past few years as industry leading in terms of its openness, its transparency, the manner in which the information is presented. It is clear to see where the investments, the strategies, the service delivery all align with our community processes to ensure that everything the city does aligns with all of the outcomes we're servicing for the community. I would expect this particular report would again get very high recognition in the annual reports awards. So I think it's a good document. It provides all of the information we need. I will just say that I am looking forward to next year's report, when I'm hoping we will be outlining the elected member performance processes and starting that maturity journey as well. And with that, I commend the report to the city. Thank you, Councillor Treby. Councillor Civic.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing a lot further to add to that, other than to compliment the administration for the preparation of this report. It is certainly first class in presentation, and it does highlight all the departments and the way that we have the council has been operating over the last 12 months. In the very early years that both myself, Brett, and yourself, Madam Mayor, were here, we had very thin reports, but the amount of business that the city has been experiencing over the last 10 years has certainly shown that we are a very organised organisation. So on that, I certainly commend the annual report to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Civic. Speakers for the annual report. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a councillor, I would like to add my thanks and congratulations to the entire administrative team who worked tirelessly for the entire year in order to achieve what is set out in this report. As a ratepayer in the City of Wanneroo, this report gives me confidence that the City of Wanneroo is being run by a team of highly professional, qualified and dedicated individuals, under strong leadership of the City CEO, directors, management and wonderful staff. I take immense pride in the fact that I live in a city that is constantly striving to do better. The city continues to participate in the Local Government Performance Excellence Program, which tracks and benchmarks the city's performance against local governments in Australia and New Zealand. winning 2 Master Builders Awards, 6 Australasian Reporting Awards, 5 of which were gold and 1 silver, and then winning the ARA Industry Sector Award are outstanding achievements. Add to that consecutive years of Gold Waterwise accreditation for a sustainable future and a Waterwise Aquatic Centre. Also finalists for Best Public Works, Waste Team of the Year, Excellence in a Community Facility, top 3 finalists for the Best Park and Smart Cities projects. Fantastic achievements by everyone concerned. Across the board, the City of Wanneroo produces excellence and continued growth. I highly commend this report and look forward to the City of Wanneroo's growth well into the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Speakers against? Speakers for? Putting the recommendation as moved Councillor Treby and seconded Councillor Civic. All those in favour? If I could please ask the members of the gallery that if you are in favour of the recommendation as per the notice paper, if you could please raise your hand with your card, the green card. Thank you very much. I declare that recommendation carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, general business. Mrs. Smart.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In accordance with Clause 530 of the Local Government Act 1995, the Mayor is to preside at the electors' meetings and has determined the procedure to be followed. The procedure has been published in the agenda and has been distributed to tonight's attendees. I will now read some key aspects to note of that procedure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So all attendees must register their attendance, including name and address, on the attendance register provided by City of Wanneroo staff. The attendance register will be for internal record purposes only and won't be published or distributed. Attendees are requested to remain seated at all times during the meeting unless invited by the presiding person to address the meeting. Attendees are required to wear a mask at all times, even whilst speaking, in accordance with the state government public health directives. Attendees are not to cause a disturbance or disrupt the meeting in any way and must comply with this procedure and the direction of the presiding person at all times. In regards to participants at an electors meeting, all participants at an electors meeting must be verified electors of the City of Wanneroo. As part of the registration process, staff were verifying electors who may participate in this meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live online and the live streaming of that commenced when the meeting was open, Madam Mayor. In regards to putting a motion to an electors meeting, proposed motions were required to be submitted to the administration by 12 noon on the day of the meeting. I confirm for you, Madam Mayor, that we received submissions of 5 motions in total prior to that timeframe. Motions from the floor will only be accepted at the discretion of the person presiding. Motions will be presented to the meeting in the order they have been received by the City. Motions from electors will be read aloud by the presiding person and they will be displayed on the public screen in the council chamber to ensure that everyone is clear about what they are voting on. The presiding person will request a mover and seconder, and no motion or amendment is open to debate until it has been moved and seconded. Upon a motion being proposed, the presiding person will then call for speakers to address the meeting. In regards to speakers at an electors meeting, only verified electors may address an electors meeting. When speaking, a speaker must rise and please move to the lectern, use the microphone provided and wear a mask at all times, even while speaking. Please state your name and address for recording in the minutes and address the meeting through the presiding person. Speakers are to limit their statements to fact, not opinion or supposition, and not reflect adversely on council members or city employees. Speakers are to refrain from making repetitive comments on matters that have already been discussed to ensure that this meeting can continue to progress effectively. A speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make their statement or ask a question to clarify matters related to the motion under discussion. The mover of a motion will be invited to speak first. The seconder will be provided the opportunity to speak next, and the presiding member will then call for other speakers. The mover of a motion, but not the mover of an amendment, has the right of the reply, and the right of reply is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The presiding person will manage the time allocated for speakers to ensure that all verified electors are given a fair and equal opportunity to speak. If the presiding person determines that sufficient and fair debate has occurred on a motion or amendment, then the presiding person, after inviting the mover to exercise the right of reply, will put that motion to the vote. When voting at an electors meeting, the person presiding, Madam Mayor, will ask for a vote on the motion. Each verified elector is entitled to 1 vote, and voting is determined by raising the voting card either for or against a motion when the presiding member calls for the vote. Voting at a general meeting is to be conducted so no voter's vote is a secret, and all decisions at a general meeting of electors are to be made by a simple majority. Madam Mayor, in relation to the 5 submissions we received of motions in writing prior to the meeting, the first and the 5th motion received contained similar or the same wording, substance and intent. In addition, the 3rd and the 4th motion received contained similar or the same wording, substance and intent. In these circumstances, to eliminate repetition and for the purposes of efficiency, in accordance with clause 23G of the procedure, the first motion received is the only motion of that substance that will be put to the electors' meeting. The submitters of the duplicate motions, Madam Mayor, were all contacted personally and advised of this process and understood the process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Smart. Our first motion, 4.1, is moved by Mr. Paul Latimer. If Mr. Latimer, if I could please ask you to come to the podium and clearly state your name and address for our records, and if you could introduce your motion, please. Is Mr. Latimer here? No. So we've got, is there anybody who's prepared to move the motion on behalf of Mr. Latimer? So they should be on the screen. Okay, yeah. So Mr. Latimer was proposing to put forward the motion to end all vaccine passports which are needed to enter any building within the Wanneroo area. Is there anybody prepared to move that on behalf of Mr. Latimer? Alternatively, it will lapse. Yes. If you'd like to please come forward and state your name and address for our records. Thank you.
Angela Rayson, Quarcum Street, Wanneroo. Good evening, Mayor and Councillors, and thank you for your time. I have been a resident and a sometime ratepayer in the City of Wanneroo periodically since 1976. During that time, I've also been employed by the Council in the library service in the early days of the Whitford and Joondalup libraries, and later on contracted to the Finance Department, assisting in the financial application within the Council. I have settled in Wanneroo now since 2018, as this was central to the location of my children and my grandchildren. I now work part-time from my home office and am very lucky to be able to provide care for my grandchildren while their parents are at work. In all of these capacities, I would frequent many businesses within the city. To keep it very simple, I will give you an example. This would be the local cafes or restaurants. I would frequent them with my friends, business acquaintances, children and grandchildren, and other family members. As a person who has been into natural healing for 20 years and have not had any medication in that time, I have elected not to be jabbed. Therefore, I can no longer have the chat over coffee in one of the lovely cafes, or go out to celebrate my 40th wedding anniversary next month in the city of Wanneroo. This is solely due to the requirement of having to produce a vaccine passport. This impacts not only my professional relationships, but my family interactions and my social life. I am also fully aware of the impact many small businesses are having due to these overreaching restrictions, which are causing segregation, discrimination, mental and economic harm. I urge the Council to do whatever is within its power to become a pro-choice council and be on the right side of history. I have noted that one of your councillors tonight said consistently thriving to do better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms Rayson. And do we have a seconder for that motion? Yes, and sorry, your name? Okay, and Mr Rayson, do you have a green card? Thank you. And would you like to speak to the motion in seconding? Okay, thank you, Mr and Mrs Rayson. Speakers for? Speakers against? Okay, if you could please make your way to the podium and clearly state your name and address. Do you wish to speak to the speak against the motion? So members of the gallery, so there is an opportunity to speak against any of the motions if you wish, or for, or it might be that you just simply wish to vote for or against. Thank you. If I could please ask you to clearly state your name and address for our records. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amelia Cowan, and I've been a long-time resident of Wanneroo since 1974. I respect the previous speaker's concerns about the lack of freedom that the vaccine passports put on her restrictions. But as far as the overall population, I do believe that one should look out for everyone in the community. I have an autoimmune disease. I have a sister-in-law who's 91. We are restricted in our visits to the Belgrade Community Care Centre. And overall, I think that it's a far reach for Mr Paul Latimer and Angela Rayson to put the onus on the Wanneroo councillors to pursue this avenue. We're all in this, and I think that we are slowly coming out of the restrictions, and that I am against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Speakers for? Speakers against? So Ms Rayson, would you like the right of reply opportunity? No? I'll make sure our resident gets back to the seat. Okay, so we've had mover and seconder and speaker against 4.1, which the motion is on your screen in front. So if I could please ask you to cast your vote. Those in favour? Those against? I declare the motion lost. Thank you. So we have another motion. Mr Scott Wilkinson. Is Mr Wilkinson here? And if we can put the motion forward. So you have the motion on the screen. Okay, so the administration have requested that I state the last motion. There was 4 for and 11 against. Thank you. So thank you very much, and that's for the benefit of those who are on live stream. Thank you. So the next motion, Mr. Scott Wilkinson doesn't appear to be here. Do we have somebody prepared to move the motion for Mr. Wilkinson? Yeah. No. So that lapses for want of a mover. Moving through to 4.3, and that should be, this is a motion from Sean Salisbury. Mr. Salisbury, are you here? So you see the motion on screen. Do we have anybody prepared to move the motion on behalf of Mr. Salisbury? No, that lapses for want of a mover. 4.4 is also Mr. Salisbury, and that is also now on screen. Do we have anybody in the gallery prepared to move 4.4 on behalf of Mr. Salisbury? No, that lapses for want of a mover. And that concludes the motions that we have received. There be no further motions, Mrs. Smart. There be no further motions. I declare general business closed. Thank you to everybody who attended our AGM this evening, the annual general meeting of electors. We appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I declare the meeting closed at 5:55 p.m. Thank you.